Welcome to the Retirement Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Greg Gonzalez. My goal for the podcast is to help you live a better life in retirement by giving you the tools and information you need in a language that you can understand. This is episode number 101. So that means there's 100 previous episodes out there for you to enjoy. Now, some of these episodes are not going to apply to you or may not apply to you. For example, one episode discusses pension options and should you take a lump sum pension option or the lifetime monthly annuity option. Well, if you don't have a pension, that episode certainly won't apply to you at all. But maybe your spouse has a pension and then it would apply to your situation. But every week, we try to bring a new topic based on the conversations that we're having with our own clients. For those of you that know me already, I'm a financial planner that specializes in retirement planning for people 50 and over. I am located in St. Louis, Missouri, but have clients in over 20 different states. Some people find me through the podcast. Some people find me through the Dave Ramsey Network. And some people have even found me from articles I've written that are published online. But retirement planning is my specialty. Different financial advisors certainly have different specialties. It's kind of like doctors. You might see a specialist, you might see a general practitioner. Generally speaking, the general practitioner is going to be referring you out to specialists. You might get referred to a dermatologist. You might get referred to a neurologist. You might get referred to a cardiologist. They all have their own specialties, it seems like. And the same thing applies with financial planners. Some of them are more so just life insurance people or insurance people. Some advisors are stockbrokers, or there's a company out there that they say, oh, we make sense of investments. But legally, they will not provide tax planning advice or estate planning advice. And certainly, they're not going to put together a retirement plan for you. And that's okay. Their focus is on the investments, and that's it. That's where they draw the line. So me, on the other hand, what we focus, and my company is called St. Louis Retirement Advisors, is we focus on holistic retirement planning. Certainly investments are leg in the stool, so to speak. And that's why I think the podcast is so helpful for people, for listeners who are wanting to plan for a successful retirement. Because it's not just about the investments. It's not just about taxes. You got to look at it from a holistic perspective. On today's episode, we're going to talk about focusing on what you can control and trying to disregard what you can't control. What decisions can you make that will have an impact on your retirement? And if you sit and dwell on all the factors that you have no control over, such as who's in the White House, well, you're just going to go mad. If you sit back and think about it, we are where we are today because of the decisions and choices we've made in the past. So as you look ahead at your retirement one day, you will be retired and you'll be at that season of your life at that point because of the decisions you make between today and that future point in time when you're retired. What's that old saying? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. Warren Buffett, he has a famous quote that said, somebody is sitting in the shade today because somebody planted a tree a long time ago. So that's going to be the main discussion of today's episode, is we're going to talk about what you can control, the decisions you can make that can have the greatest impact on your retirement. We're also going to talk about the things that you have no control over. I have no control over. Now, when I'm meeting with clients, either in my office or over Zoom, or maybe it's a phone call, they're of course bringing up these issues like what's going on in our economy right now, who's in the White House, the war in Ukraine. Those are all examples of things that we have no control over whatsoever. And I am here to tell you that you are completely wasting your time if you want to sit and think, my goodness, if only things were different. If only inflation wasn't so high. If only someone was in the White House. If only the war wasn't going on in Ukraine right now. So let's step back and focus on what we can control when it comes to your retirement planning. Let's talk about that on today's episode. For all the new listeners out there, I wanted to take a second to direct you to our website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. That's retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. While you're there, listen to all of our previous episodes, as well as check out and download my Retirement Secret Sauce. You can't miss it. It's on the homepage. And then under the Resources tab, there are 3 steps to retirement. Step 1 is your blueprint to a dream retirement. That's where you, and if you're married, you and your spouse fill out your retirement vision. What do you want? What do you dream of? And how do you want to spend your days in retirement? That's step 1. It's a blueprint to a dream retirement. Step number 2 is our budgeting tool, figuring out, hey, what's that dream retirement going to cost us? So many people want to ask me, hey, can I afford to retire? Well, the first question I always ask is, tell me about what you want to do in retirement. How much you want to live on every single month? What will your fixed expenses be? What will your discretionary expenses be? And typically in retirement, your discretionary expenses may go up because think about it, every day is a Saturday. You may travel more. You may spend more money on hobbies and what you enjoy. You may go out to eat more. You may go to the movies more. So that's step number 2 is completing that budgeting tool to figure out how much this is going to cost you every month. Step number 3 is the retirement action plan. This is getting all the questions answered when it comes to retirement planning. And this piece of the puzzle, this retirement plan that is personalized to you and your goals, is going to be so crucial to the success of your retirement. And it goes over this step number 3, your retirement action plan is there to help answer all the important questions. When can I retire? How much am I going to be able to live on? How long will my money last? What's my tax situation going to be like in retirement? Do I have enough currently saved for retirement to retire tomorrow? If not, when will I have enough? What gaps exist currently in my current strategy that I need to fill in between now and retirement? So these questions and more are answered by your retirement action plan. I always tell people, show me your retirement plan, and I will tell you how successful your retirement's going to be. So check those out underneath the Resources tab. Again, step 1, blueprint to a dream retirement. Step 2, our budgeting tool. Step 3 is your retirement action plan. Let's jump into today's content, focusing on what you can control and ignoring what you can't control. Easier said than done. So I always tell our clients, you want to focus on the things that we can control. You can control how much debt you pay off. In retirement, you can absolutely control how much taxes you pay and when you pay them. To some extent, of course. You can control how your money's invested, how your IRAs, 401ks, your retirement accounts are invested. You can control how much is in your emergency fund. You certainly can control when you claim your Social Security benefit and how much that pays out. But so many people want to focus on the things that we can't control. And I hear it from so many people. I don't know if it's more so when people are retired, maybe they watch more TV, they listen to more news, and any more than news is just so negative. I've had enough of crime and murder and theft. I've had enough of that. I don't need to hear it anymore. And nowadays, of course, inflation's out of control. And you see these pictures of what's going on with the war in Ukraine and the devastation and the deaths. And then the next headline is, oh, the market, this Dow Jones Industrial Average is plunging 600 points in one day. And you got to remember a lot of this journalism, this reporting, it's using sensationalism. It's provoking these shocking stories, and it's using language like, oh, the market plunges or the market soars. The market just doesn't go up and down. It plunges and soars and spirals out of control. But an elevator does the same thing as the market. An elevator goes up and down. But if on the button with the up arrow, if it said soar, and then next to the button that with the down arrow, it said plunge, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't get on that elevator. I'd take the stairs. I want to get on an elevator that says up and down. I can handle up and down. I can't handle soar and plunge. We can't do anything about the direction the market is headed, the stock market is headed, right? On this podcast, I have spent many episodes talking about how it is impossible to time the market. But that's one of the things that you can control. You can't control the market and where it's headed, but you can control your emotions to the market when it goes up and down. You can also control the risk that you're taking in your portfolio. Quite simply, when you think about risk and how much your investments, how risky they are, think of when you're going to an amusement park. There's an amusement park here in St. Louis, it's Six Flags. And there's some rides that I can't even get on because I don't have the stomach for them. But I mean, they're soaring, they're going up and down. It's a roller coaster ride. And there's other ones that are more like the kiddie rides. Well, some people want to take less risk and they want to have a portfolio that is like the kiddie rides. They don't have the stomach for the big ups and downs and the big swings that a more risky portfolio may entail. Just like I don't have the stomach for those rides where they take you straight up in the air and then they drop you like 200 feet all of a sudden. I would lose my lunch just thinking about that. And typically when somebody goes into retirement, not always, but in many cases, they want to start drawing income off of their retirement accounts. Maybe it's Roth IRAs, your 401k or IRAs. And they want to start taking a withdrawal. So you have a decision to make, a strategic decision. And maybe you want to partner with an advisor like myself who specializes in coming up with a strategy that produces income, like through like dividends and interest, that you can live off of that portfolio and the dividends and interest that it produces. Dave Ramsey says you want to live off of the eggs that the goose lays. You don't want to kill the goose. You don't want to eat the goose. So that's a huge decision there. That's one of the most important decisions. Again, Social Security and when and how you claim your Social Security benefit, you want to do so at the optimal time. And so many people that I talk to just seem to focus on the things they have no control over, like the president in the White House and inflation and the Johnny Depp trial. And on this podcast, I want to encourage you to do the opposite. I want to encourage you to focus on what you can control. You might say, okay, because I believe that tax rates are going up when the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expires in 2026, because I know that is coming down the pipeline, I'm going to start doing Roth conversions between now and then. That's a strategic decision. You can say, okay, I'm going to pay 12% taxes, because if Congress doesn't act, it's going to mean in 2026, instead of paying 12% taxes, I'm going to be paying 15% federal taxes. That makes sense to me. Now, there's always the possibility that depending on how Congress, if it's controlled by the Republicans or the Democrats, which we have no control over, they could certainly extend the low tax environment that we're under right now several more years. But again, we have no control over that. I talked about this in a previous episode. You might say, okay, because when I retire, my employer is going to pay me out for all my sick time and all my overtime, and maybe I get a bonus in February. I'm going to decide, I'm going to strategically decide to retire in April. That will mean that I'm paying less taxes on both my bonus and on my sick and vacation time whenever it's paid out. Let's call it $15,000 or $20,000. Another thing you can control is how much you contribute to your HSA, to your 401k. That is totally up to you. Now, they all have limits, right? A 401k, the most you can put in a 401k if you're over 50 is 27 grand per year. That does not include your match. And then an HSA, the annual contribution limit, I believe, is like $7,200 for a family. Another thing you can control if you're lucky enough to have a pension is the decision you make and how you claim that pension. Do you take the lump sum option, which some people take? And I've seen many scenarios where taking the lump sum option really pans out. I've seen other scenarios where somebody mismanages the money, maybe they don't invest it properly, and then they just spend through it, and then there's nothing left. So as long as that lump sum option is taken and it's managed properly, it can be a really good choice. But if you don't invest that money properly, or you don't know how to, you don't want to work with an advisor to teach you how to invest it properly so it lasts as long as you do, if you don't want to do that, then you're probably best off selecting a lifetime annuity option. But the choice is totally yours. Which lifetime option do you take? Do you take the single life? Do you take the spousal 100% survivor? Maybe it's the 75% survivor, if that's an option, or maybe a 50% survivor, meaning if something happened to you, your spouse would get 50% of your original pension as a monthly benefit for the rest of their life. You do have control over that. Now, I realize there's some pensions that don't offer that lump sum option, so you just kind of have to make the best choices with the lifetime annuity option, and that's okay. But if I'm looking at a private pension, you bet your bottom dollar, I'm looking at the funding, how well funded this pension is. I've seen pensions that are 97% funded. I've seen others that are 60% funded. And I can tell you, and this is just me, this is my opinion, if I had a pension and they came out with a report saying, Greg, this thing is 60% funded, it should be 95 or 100% funded, but right now it's 60% funded, and I have the option to take a lump sum, I wouldn't need to think long about that one. And I've had a lot of people say, oh, well, my company's strong. And well, guess what? 25 years ago, Blockbuster was a very, very strong company. Sears and JCPenney's, both strong companies 25 years ago. And we talked about this on a prior episode. If somebody retires at 62, a 62-year-old non-smoking couple is projected to live 30 years until they're 92. So how's your company going to be 30 years from now? We don't know. We have no control over that. But we do have control over the decisions we make today. And the last decision that you have control over, or most people have control over, is when you retire. Let me give you an example. I have clients that have a goal and they say, I'm going to wait until my house is paid off until I retire. I'm going to wait until I get my annual bonus before I retire. I'm going to wait until my kids' student loans are paid off until I retire. I'm going to wait until I'm 65 years old. I not only qualify for Medicare at that point, but also my pension is maximized at age 65. Maybe they're going to wait until Social Security, until their full retirement age or close to it. Because again, the longer you keep working, the more you're paying into Social Security. And yes, 1 year of work is not going to dramatically increase your Social Security benefit, but it does help. Not only is it getting bigger because you're paying in more, but also you're waiting that extra year. And really, every month that you wait, your Social Security benefit is accruing. So that's what I want to encourage you again today. Focus on what you can control. Focus all your energy on those things, those critical elements, because you and I have no control over the cost of gas. We have no control over where the stock market is headed, the S&P 500, or where the weather is headed. So let's all focus on what we can control and forget about what we cannot control. What you can control is start your retirement off right. Go to my website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. Underneath the resources tab, download my blueprint to a dream retirement, as well as step 2, our budgeting tool for retirement. And lastly, step number 3, the retirement action plan. That is the final step that will help answer all the questions that you need to know before you retire. Thanks for listening today, and remember, always dream big. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, please consult your attorney, financial advisor, or tax advisor prior to investing. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA, SIPC.